having some internet connectivity issues. The Meta Business Suite is telling me that the internet might not be strong enough to go live, but here we are. Now it says I'm live, so we'll give it a try. Hopefully, there's no interruptions. Welcome to the sermon you're not getting this week. Today, we're looking at nations that you do not know, that do not know you shall run to you, because of the Lord your God, the Holy One of Israel, for He has glorified you. Here ends our reading. When I was in high school, I had a history teacher who liked this phrase, there's no such thing as a free lunch. It's a pretty common phrase, I think. I think he got it from an economics professor. The idea being, even if there is someone buys you lunch, well, they had to buy it. It wasn't free for them. Even if your company has like a free lunch as a celebration day for the staff, it's not free. It came out of their budget somewhere. Someone has to pay for it. So there's no such thing as a free lunch. And it does seem like that's kind of hard to argue with. It's hard to come up with examples, or at least it was for me for a long time. Hard to come up with an example. Everyone says everything is everything, and then what's the point anymore? The reason I bring this up is, well, there are examples that we could think of, right, that aren't necessarily, that might be a free lunch, that might break the rule or violate it a little bit. I mean, what if you grow food on your own? Sure, the economists would say, well, you had to pay for the seeds, and sure, maybe you did. But let's say you paid for seeds and then grew crops, and then the next year, from those crops, you took the seeds from the previous year's crops and grew crops again. I know that that's the way we measure the value of a person's worth in society so often, is money. But sometimes it's nefarious and it sneaks up on you in ways that you didn't expect. This sort of obsession of measuring everything with money. And I have a personal example. I want to say last week, what came to mind is, would this raise or lower our curb appeal? What would somebody trying to buy the house think of this? What would a real estate agent think of that decision? And I told her about my thought process, and she was a little flabbergasted. And I understand why, because I was thinking of the house in terms of an investment. It was about money. But we're not trying to sell the house. we're staying in the house for presumably for a while. We're not trying to get rid of the house. I shouldn't be looking at it purely as an investment right now. And her response to this was, yeah, a house isn't just an investment. It is first and foremost the place where you live and enjoy life. So if you have something that you want to do that might lower your curb appeal, but you'll enjoy it, that's probably okay. Because it's not about money. It doesn't have to be purely about money. Now, maybe an investment banker would disagree, or a real estate agent would disagree, or some sort of real estate financier would disagree, and they'd say your house is your safest, most reliable investment. And I agree that that's statistically speaking true. Property is a very safe, reliable investment. But how far have we gone down the path of money really is what life is about? If we're determining what we want to do with our house based on a necessity of life, that's about enjoying life. It's a luxury, a delicacy. Um, and there are people who will say that people in the ancient world drank a lot of wine because the water was of such low quality. And maybe that's true, but it wasn't a necessity. People also drank water. They had different immune systems. Maybe our stomachs would not like their water back then, but they drank water. They had water to drink. It wasn't just wine all day. Wine was still a luxury item. And this is something that they're going to get without money. It's not just lunch that's free. It's the bonus on top. It's the alcohol on top that's free. And I think the point here is Isaiah is imagining the kingdom of God as a place where we don't measure everything in money. We have what we need and what we want becomes well fed because the enemy army that had been starving them accidentally donated all their food. I don't know exactly what Isaiah is imagining here, uh, but it is food without money, food without price. It's a world in which we can live and imagine not needing to be confined by what things call our society. As I said before, so much of what we do, of who we are, of what we want, is measured by money, and in which we don't need to be confined by it. And we could just imagine that being a future world. We have God's love and care and grace for us. That is the currency of the kingdom of God. Love and grace and care from God for us, from us to one another, between us all. Maybe we can live a little bit more into that and trust that in that world, maybe there is such a thing as free love.